Welcome back to the Fight Business Podcast. Before we get into this episode, I would like to mention that this podcast is brought to you by me, McGowan Muay Thai Online. If you want to up your training, you can get all of my expertise all on one website. That's my class systems, all of my coaching tips, and a lot more. So head over there and check it out. Now let's get back into the episode. Welcome back to the Fight Business Podcast. Today we have my very, very good friend from Cyprus. So we can't do it together, but one day we will do it together in person. But we've got Josh Martin, aka H2K, Hard to Kill. How are you, bro?
Let's go, baby. Very, very good. Very excited to be on the Fight Business Podcast. I was so excited when you sent me that message. I felt like Joe Rogan himself had asked me to come on the podcast because this is the best podcast in the fight business. Oh, I've got friends who do this as well, and I love
Oh,
all other podcasts too. Joe Comerford, I love you. But I'm very
maybe I am
excited.
the Joe Rogan. I'm the Joe Rogan
You
maybe of
are.
Muay Thai podcasting.
You basically are because you're beloved by all, and you know lots, and you're into aliens. So it's kind of the same thing.
It's true. But I want to start off with, anyways, with a little bit about how we met, and also because your mindset and stuff back then, from when I first met you to how it is now, is completely different. So I want to kind of first of all touch on how we met, and yeah, we'll go from there.
I was in Cyprus during COVID, so I was a big fan of Savas Michael and you. You were both guys that I was watching. I was super into your style and just I've always just been obsessed with watching Muay Thai. So even before I was like in the industry, let's say, I was just an enthusiast. And COVID happened. And Savas moved back to Cyprus. So Savas lives full time in Thailand. I'm pretty sure everybody knows that. But for anyone who doesn't, Savas Michael lives in Thailand. He was a sponsored fighter at a gym at the time, and he was living there. And he had, still has, a trainer, Ajahn Watt, who is like, it's the two of them. They're like, they're the dream team, the duo. So they actually both moved to Cyprus during COVID because Savas moved back and Arjan came because he was like his number one student, and they were here for a while, and I just had the incredible opportunity. And bro, it was so weird. Nobody else took it really. Like he was living in Limassol, which is about an hour and a half. Where the gym he was at was an hour and a half drive on a good day from me, and I would just drive down to meet him, and I was so starstruck, and like incredibly nervous. And our first, he was so kind, bro. He invited me to a sparring session. I drove just with him, just him, and I wasn't good, but he just was so kind to me. And I drove all the way down, and I got there, and I'm gearing up to spar, and I fucking forgot my mouthpiece. And I'm like, "Is there a spare
God.
mouthpiece? I'll just wash it. I'll do anything." And he's like, "No, there's nothing." So I took my wife had like I don't know what the word is, like macrameed me this key ring, which was like soft thread in like it was the shape of a moncon, to be honest, but it was so I took the key ring off and I just bit it between my teeth like a tourniquet, just so that they wouldn't chip each other when they hit. And there's a sparring video where you can just see fluff coming out my mouth because I'm getting punched. I'm getting my head punched in by Savas, and I'm just eating
I
every
was gonna
shot, and I've
say,
just got this fluff.
it's probably not the guy you want to not have a mouth guard in for either.
No, exactly. That's why I was so specific. Like I have to have something between my teeth because I ate so many punches in that session. But anyway, we became friends. We became a lot closer when he started training with my S&C coach, so Sotiri's from Spear, Cyprus. Um, so then actually we would both drive to a different city. So he'd go from Limassol to Nicosia. I'd go from Larnaca to Nicosia. 2, 3 times a week, I think we were going. And we would train with him. and we just became really close. And like I said, he was so kind to me, and he said, "Let me take you, come with me." He was going to go do a UK seminar tour, and he said, "Come with me on the tour, um, just so you can get like a foot in the industry door, basically." And he said, "We're going to go meet, you and he are very close." And he was like, "You're going to meet my really good friend Dan." I was like, "Yeah, I know Dan. Of course I know Dan. Like, Dan McGowan, your friends." And he's like, "Yeah." So I went with him. Sickest trip of my life. So fun. That was the first time I met you. It was at your gym. You and he did a seminar together at your gym. I went with JJ, my brother-in-law, and we just did the seminar basically. And then afterwards, Savas threw me in the hot water, and he was like, "Hold some pads," because Siam Boxing was there to film. So I held pads for Savas, and then I held pads for you. And that was also the first time I was like, "Oh, like a kick can break an arm." Because I was holding pads for you and your right kick. I was like, if I was not holding these pads, I think after maybe 10 plus, I'd be worried about my arm breaking. Like genuinely, it was crazy. Anyway, that was how we met. And yeah, we hung out after that and the rest is history.
A little bit of Turkish food after. That was
Yeah, we
nice.
went for
It was
lunch.
nice.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Oh, it was
It so
amazing. I was
it's
so
it's
nervous for
funny.
that as well.
It's funny because you at that point hadn't you hadn't really started fighting at that point.
No,
I
I'd
think you
had
had maybe
one
some like
kickboxing fight.
that's it. Yeah, you had one kickboxing fight. I don't even think I knew that at the time. I only knew that from the last trip that you when you come here actually,
Yeah.
because you showed me some of it, and your style has completely changed. But
So different.
so different. But at the time, like Savas is like we'll stick to talk about Savas actually because he's a funny character because he's like a
Yeah.
wind up merchant for one. He's a proper wind up merchant. He's like the loveliest guy ever. Like me and him, like really close, good friends. But he just loves getting up to mischief basically, and he always was like, I think because he's grew up basically in Thailand fighting. He was like, "Josh, like, you need to fight, bro. Like, why aren't you fighting? Like, you're good enough." And you were really not that on it. I could tell because
Yeah.
I've kind of spent a bit of time outside of Thailand and I've met a lot of people that were really, really good at Muay Thai, but just weren't really bothered about fighting. And I could tell your head was at that space where you weren't really on it. And I think there was a few things probably deep down was why you weren't fighting or why you didn't want to fight. I think it was like a real mental block for you at this point.
Yeah.
And then, like, actually, we'll talk. Like, what was the mental block of not wanting to fight? Because I did some training with you that trip, and like you've improved so much since then. But you were still like at a good level then. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't like you were
Yeah.
rubbish. You still were good. You were still giving me and Savas some like you was giving us decent rounds. What was the mental block, and what do you think caused that? And then go on to I suppose it'll be interesting and inspiring for some people to like kind of know how you got through that and kind of done what you've kind of went on to do.
Yeah, so that is actually maybe the most interesting part of my, let's say, the athletic side of my life. Or even it was a massive chapter in my life in general. So I got like really severe anxiety very randomly out of nowhere. Well, it wasn't out of nowhere, but as in it just dropped in. So I had a car crash. I was riding my moped and I got hit by a car. And it was really bad. I got a really bad concussion from it. Um, so that happened, and then not to get too deep, but my dad left, and then it was like I was the man of the household, and then I had the car crash, and my life was kind of going nowhere, and I think it was just this weird kind of storm that created this crazy anxiety, bro. It was crazy. It was to do with everything, but it really focused in on my health. So I would finish a sparring session and I'd go home and I wouldn't go to sleep until 3 in the morning because I'd be going, did I get a concussion in sparring? And it wouldn't be hard sparring, but I'd be like, have I got a brain bleed? Is my brain bleeding and I don't know it? Have I got Like, I gotta get to the hospital. I'd be going to the bathroom. I'd be checking my pupils in the mirror to see if they were the same, like reacting to the light. I'd call. I actually, this is pretty ridiculous, but I started getting my calls rejected from the emergency services because I kept calling them and asking them, is it normal to have this type of headache and shit like that? And
It's just funny because it's you.
yeah, it was
It's not. It's
terrible,
actually
bro.
not. It's actually not funny, but because I know you, it's actually hilarious.
They actually stopped taking my phone calls. They'd be like, because we're in Cyprus, they'd be like, "Sir, this is the emergency line." And I'd be like, "Yeah, yeah, I don't." They're like, "Do you need an ambulance?" I'd be like, "Well, I don't know. That's what I'm trying to ask you." And they're like, "Do you need us to send someone?" I was like, "I don't know. If you could tell me whether this is normal, I'll tell you whether I need you to send someone. But I don't know." And so they would hang up on me, and eventually, I guess they have a list of numbers. They stopped taking my calls. But yeah, so I was having this crazy anxiety, and I really wanted to fight so bad. I've always wanted to fight since I started Muay Thai when I was 12, and my mum didn't let me fight, but I really wanted to. So finally got to this age where I could. I had the kickboxing fight. It went amazing. Then I got really badly injured during training. I hurt my neck. Then when I was getting better, I had the car crash. And the thing with my dad and my family, and had this anxiety, and I just couldn't, bro. I would imagine, or I would smell menthol, like the smell of tire oil, and I would get like whoosh, like a rush of panic, or I would just picture myself. I would daydream about like, okay, you've accepted a fight, and it was like it was an unimaginable thought for me. I couldn't overcome that anxiety. And Savas really tried to help, but because he's got such a different mindset, he's just got a fuck it mindset. I couldn't have that kind of mindset. I just couldn't. Like I wasn't at that place where I could have it. So it wasn't communicating to me really well. Um, and so that was what it was really was I really wanted to fight, which is why I was training so much, why I'd come with him, why I was so, into Muay Thai training, sparring, trying to improve. I just couldn't fathom taking a fight. So what I started doing was I started doing a lot of one of the turning points was ice baths. So I started doing ice baths, and I know that's such a crypto bro thing to do, but I started doing ice baths every day, and they were helping with my pain from the car crash. But also, what I would do is when you get into an ice bath, it creates panic because of the way that it impacts the vagus nerve, basically. So it creates a sense of panic in the body. So I would get into this panic, and then I would picture the fight, and I'm already in a panic. So I'd picture fighting and breathe through it and see my way through the fight and finish. And then I'd get out the ice bath. And I would do an ice bath every day. And I would do this every single day. And it started to have this effect. And I was able to take a non-scoring, like what you guys call interclubs. They're not interclubs here because they're basically full power. But and full
Okay.
power and with elbows and with 10-ounce gloves, and you're allowed to knock each other out, but there's no winner basically. So it's kind of pointless. It's kind of silly. Like it's all of the
May
bad
as well
and
just have
none
a
of the
fight.
good, basically. May as well just fight. But it's so that you can kind of say like, oh, it's not a fight. It's just this. So I had a non-scoring, which I was able to kind of work myself up to do, and it felt like the biggest challenge of my life. I felt like I was getting ready for the Olympics. And they actually matched me up with one of the best fighters in Cyprus, which is so silly. I think they were trying to get me. I think looking back, I think the organizers of the event were trying to like like get me over. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
they were
yeah.
setting me
Stitch you
up.
up.
Yeah, that's the word. There we go. Because he was a pro fighter, but he had been out of competition a little bit, so he took it as well just to kind of warm back up. Anyway, we ended up having an absolutely awesome fight, not fight, and he knocked me down with a head kick, and I, clinch fucked him, and we just had a great trade basically. And if it had been a fight, I reckon it would have been a draw because of the knockdown. Um, but it kind of gave me like the next level of confidence, and I was able to start building from there. And basically from there, bro, I started. We were more in communication, you and I, at that point. Still, kind of, we didn't know each other. You know, obviously we'd met, but like, I invited you to come and do a seminar week, right? Was that? I think this is the right timeline. You came and did a seminar week. We
Yeah.
got it sponsored by one of my members, and we brought you over, and you
Yeah.
did basically like a mini training camp for the members of the gym. And that was, you know, we started to build our relationship from there. Georgia came over, and we just had a really good time. And from there, I started coming over to train with you, and that was interesting for me because whereas Savas is very much like you said, he's lived in Thailand and he's just like, fuck it, just do it. You know, he said to me, this was after the Pampayak fight. He said to me, "What's the worst thing that can happen, bro? You get kicked in the head and knocked out in front of millions of people." And he was saying it as if like that's not bad. And I was like, yes, that
Yeah.
is what can happen. That's
That's
terrifying.
exactly what scares me.
Well, yes, and he said it as if it was gonna like break through my ice or something, and I was like, "Yes, bro, you've just made me more afraid. What you've just said has made me more uncomfortable because if it can happen to you, it can happen to me. So yeah, that's what scares me.
Yeah.
But then the way you would talk about it was way more understanding because obviously you'd been training beginners, and you really understood that I was like afraid. Basically, I was just super afraid and we would just talk about it, bro. And the way you talked about fighting made such an impression on me. And I think your belief in me, well, I know, and your belief in me had an effect that made me start believing in myself. And from there, I kind of just I had another I had an interclub in the UK, and that was a much it was a really it was a good event actually for interclubs. I think there was some scoring, but it was mostly interclubs, and that was a really good event and kind of exposed me to having a crowd there. It was like a sit down dinner thing, and and it was broadcast live and shit like that. And I got the experience, the next level of experience, and I did really well during that. And I started to kind of get my confidence back and realize, you know, I'm not made of like sticks.
Glass.
I'm not gonna break. Yeah, I'm not made of glass. There we go. Thanks. I'm a foreigner. I'm a brown foreigner. Ah, it's fucking coming out already. I was gonna try and
I'm
hold it in
keeping
for
it
this
in.
one.
I'm keeping it in.
Well, I'm
I don't
brown, so
even
I'm allowed
care if
to
you
say
cancel yourself this time. Yeah.
it. For some background information, I always do interviews, and Dan's always there, and I always say something that's going to get me cancelled, and they have to cut it out. But this time, we're on the Fight Business podcast, and we can say whatever we want. I'm
Yes.
coming over on
We're
a
trying to
boat,
build, but
baby.
we're gonna get cancelled before we even build up.
I started to realize I'm not made of glass, and so I took this fight in Cyprus, and it was against a another pro fight. So it was a semi-pro fight, which in Cyprus means elbow pads and shin pads. But it's like the one level you do before pro, basically, but it's full protection. So I took this semi-pro fight against the pro fighter. He wanted pro, and I said, let me just get one scoring in before I do pro. Let me just do one. Um, and I trained really hard for that, and I was terrified because I thought, you know, this guy's fought pro in Thailand, Lebanon, Cyprus, Greece, like all over the world, other places, I don't know where. But, you know, he'd been fighting pro and he was bigger than me as well. It was not at my natural weight. And I was so scared, and I was just like, you just got to do it. And I got to that point a lot thanks to you and thanks to like the mental work I've been doing. And I prepared for this fight, and then I went in and I fought him, and it was so unbelievably easy that I came out of it, and I was like, what on earth were you so afraid of? It was so easy. I think I got hit with two elbows, and they're pretty big elbows, but that was all I got hit with in the whole fight. And I came out and I was like, bro, you're not made of glass. You're made of fucking rock. Do you know what I mean? Like, you might be the opposite of what you think you are. You might be really hard to kill. And that's where that came from. And for those of you who don't know, Hard to Kill is my fightwear brand, but it's also my fight name. And it's because I actually learned the science behind it the other day. So I was watching a podcast and it was a guy talking about how elite athletes don't see themselves in first person. They see themselves in third person. You create a persona, and seeing yourself in third person allows you to detach from the reality of what's happening and make more rational decisions. And then as a byproduct of that, you're able to rationalize your fears as well. Um, I was able to. So I created this persona, the incredibly hard to kill Josh Martin, basically, and I started seeing myself in this third person, and I started to make myself believe that I was incredibly tough, durable, and fearless. Not fearless, but brave. Still feeling the
Yeah.
fear, but going through it. And I created this persona, and I was doing mental training with this guy, Max Spinney, who's a mental coach for kind of like elite athletes, and he trains at my gym. And I started doing mental training with him, and I created this persona, and I just started to live it. It became so much of who I am, and I did start to see it as a secondary person because outside of the ring, I'm very, very much not aggressive, let's say, but in these contexts, I became ultra aggressive and not danger averse, like go towards the danger. And that was so the opposite of what I'd been struggling with up until that point. And I really think, it was a journey, but having you as my coach and then just working a lot on mindset, but that's such a cliche soundbite, but working on my mindset in a real way and just going like, yes, you feel the fear, but fear is just an indicator of reality. It's not a governing emotion. Fear is an indicator of what you're doing. So, if I pick up this remote control, I'm not afraid of it. Why? Because the remote control can't hurt me. But if I go and run through traffic, I'm afraid. Why? Because the car might hit me. Right? Now, it's fine to pick up the remote, it's not fine to run through traffic. But is it fine to fight? Yes, it's just a sport. So the fear is an indicator of the reality of the danger of fighting, but it's not a governing factor in whether I should or should not fight. So I detached from the fear. I still felt it, but I detached from it as a governing factor in my actions. And so when they asked me if I wanted to have a pro fight a couple of months later, I just said yes. Um, and I started preparing for this fight. And it was against another. Well, I think I'm getting ahead of myself, but basically that is, we'll save that. But that is basically how I got through that anxiety from Savas trying to convince me to do a C-class fight, and I was like, no way, to going pro in my second fight, where I was like, yes, I'll do it. It was just nothing changed, just how I approached the same feelings changed, basically.
Did because again I've seen your kind of training regime, and if anything, like the one thing that is structured about your training, I'd say is your strength work, and we're going to get onto that, like with your
Yeah.
S&C coach. But do you think the kind of mindset shift, just in terms of like going, you know what, I'm just going to do this, I'm going to go towards the fear. Did that help kind of mold the way you trained? Because I feel like, again, knowing you from when I met you to when, like, say, like now, and you're like a man possessed when you train. And do you think
Yeah.
that kind of fearlessness, or like that kind of, that not being afraid of that kind of fear, did that help the way you trained as well?
Yeah, 100% on both sides. So the fear itself helped the way I train, and then the attitude that I developed helped the way I train. So it's really interesting. It's from both angles. So because I was so afraid, I was like, well, you got to train really hard because you're afraid of something real. Fighting is super dangerous. So when you train, don't half-ass it. Don't do it like someone who isn't afraid because you are terrified. So you better put in the work, otherwise you're just cheating yourself, and actually you're gonna make your fears come true. But then also, yeah, just that mentality shift of because training can also be super scary. If you know you got crazy air bike sprints, that's quite stressful. You know,
Hate,
you're driving to
hate
your
that.
session, horrible, and you're driving to your session and you're so like stressed, and it just became this mindset of like this is what you do. Like I started to think about it in a really cliche way of like you've chosen the path of war, so it's all going to be horrible. So do everything 100%. Do it with 100% intensity, and basically live the path that you've chosen. You've chosen to approach these feelings and emotions in a different way. So it just made me approach everything differently. I started training different. You're right. I started just doing everything differently, bro. Like the persona took over everything, and I just every single session would exist as if there was no afterwards. I wouldn't think about what came afterwards. I just went like my S&C coach really helped with this. He's a very, very smart guy, so dude, he's very wise as well. And he coached me incredibly well, and he worked on my mindset a lot. But we just there was no messing around during sessions with him. It was very, very serious. It was fun, but it was very serious. Um, and I just, yeah, approached it with the same kind of intensity of this is the life I've chosen, and today is the most important day in this life that you've chosen. So you better die under the barbell. You better die lifting this barbell. You better die doing these sprints. You better die doing these pull-ups. Every single thing that I did was life or death, just in the way of what it meant to me. Everything I do means the maximum amount to me in that moment.
Yeah, and I suppose like have like training like that and having that kind of mindset, like confidence then comes with like the preparation as well, I suppose. So like the better you prepare your body, your mind is obviously the more confident you're going to be in the fight. And going back to the
Yeah,
like the air bike sprints and stuff like that, like honestly, I think I got more nervous going to them sessions than I did actually fighting in the end because
yeah,
they are horrendous. Like any like you, it is weird. Like, and again, like I haven't obviously fought in a while, and like kind of took the coaching approach more so lately. And I think the reason why is, well, we've spoke about this, but trying to get like when you're doing that, when you're in that kind of life and that fight life, it is mad. Like you just kind of do it, and it's like you get through it. Mad injuries, like training with a broken hand, training with your shoulders been smashed for years.
more.
You don't really think about it, and then it get like you just kind of do it. And then some of the rounds I was doing with like Lewis and whatnot, like thinking back to it, I'm like, Jesus Christ, like it's actually mental what you actually have to do.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
but yeah, it is weird. Like, as a fighter, you kind of just like tunnel vision it, and you just go, and it's just the norm. Whereas like it's just not. It's actually not the norm at all. Do you know what I mean? Actually, when you
no,
come out of it a little bit, you're like, fuck, that is not normal. It's so extreme. so, um,
yeah, yeah.
so
But
yeah,
I
it's
don't
I
think
think
everybody does that. I don't think
yeah,
everybody
that's
kind
true.
of kind of tunnel visions it,
Some of
and I
them
think
rounds with
that's what holds a
Lewis,
lot of people back.
yeah, it's true. It's yeah, that is true as well. And I think like the mindset, and obviously stuff like that is so important in Muay Thai. And I think to be good, you have to just get on with it. I think like
Yeah,
try not to overthink it. Just go with the flow, and then and again, this is the reason why I've kind of put it on pause. At least I say pause because I've never actually fully gone,
you
but
never officially
like
tried. Yeah,
yeah, never officially done it, but I I just don't. As it stands, I'm just not. I haven't got it in me to go through that. I have started to think about it, and I think when you start overthinking like that, my style and my the way I was and the way I got successful was from just going and doing things and not even really thinking about it, just getting on with it, and that's how I become successful. And then as soon as I started overthinking it and I overanalyzing, oh, like the weight cut is so hard, I'm killing myself, and I never used. I've done hard weight cuts throughout my whole career, and then the last couple, I was like, this is horrendous. Like, what am I doing? And I think as soon as I started questioning it, that's when I kind of was like, you're right, you're gonna get hurt if you carry on thinking like this. Not because of just the physical, like putting your body through that, but just your mindset's not there. And these other guys that you're fighting, they are their mindset is that some of these guys that are, when you go up to the high level. So like that's why I've kind of put it on pause for now and watch other people get punched in the head, I suppose.
From the sidelines where it's comfy.
It's a little bit nicer, but then so like it's it's mad because you went from like one extreme to the other, like from being like so scared, not wanting to do it, really completely putting it off, to then like an extreme version of yourself. And the reason I say an extreme because you chose a fight style that you have to get hit, basically. Yeah. So
Yeah.
we're going to talk about clinching and why did you love clinching so much? Because it's a hard style. Yeah. See how I'm doing that so naturally. It's
Yeah, you did straight
it
away.
yeah, I don't know. It's a hard style to fight, and you have to take some damage a lot of the time to get in close and clinch. Why that style, and how did you figure out that that's what you were going to do and that's what you were good at?
Okay, so it's funny actually because there's two parts to this. But when was before I'd ever fought Muay Thai, and I was really shit at the time actually. And I looked at a video the other day and I was like not good at that time. But I was in America and I was sparring with this guy, this trainer at this gym, and he was like, "Oh, you're a Muay Thai," and I was like, "What is that?" And he was like, "It's a clinch fighter." And I was like, "Oh, okay. Why?" And he's like, "Well, you're kneeing all the time. And you keep grabbing me and you're kneeing." And I was like, "Okay, I guess I am then." And he kind of said that, and then I still didn't take too much notice of it, and still didn't know what it was. But then when Savas and Arjan came, and I was training with them, I do remember one session I was hitting pads with Arjan, and Arjan was like, he shouted to Savas, he's like, my cow," and Savas was like, "Yeah, you're a Muay Thai," and it was like I gravitated towards it pretty naturally. But then, so before my first non-scoring back, the one I told you about with that guy who's a pro fighter, I was waiting to go on, and Savas had told me because I was into clinch at the time. I was loving it already. I said to him, "How do I get better now?" And he's like, "Well, you need to watch my cow fighters." And I was like, "Okay, who?" He's like, "Pet Boonchu, number one." And so I was like, "Okay." I didn't know who he was. I'd heard the name, but I had no clue who he was. So before the fight, before the non-scoring, sorry, I'm sat in the changing room and I just YouTubed Pet Boonchu and I think I watched him fight Nongo, and I was like, "I guess I'll do that then." And I get in the fight and I start doing what I do anyway, which is just a little bit kicking, whatever. And it starts to heat up. And as soon as it starts turning into a fight, basically, I just switched on and started marching forwards and grabbing on and clinching, and it just came so unbelievably naturally. And I didn't have a coach. I didn't have any training partners who could clinch, but it just came so naturally to close the distance and grab on and lock on and knee. And then after the fight, I was like, okay, I guess this is what I do. This is very clearly what I do. So that's kind of how I got into it. But the reason I love it is something totally different. It's not just because I'm successful with it. Like I can kick as well. Like the one thing I can't do is box, but I can kick. But I don't want to have a fight where I'm kicking. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't want to just have a kicking match. Um, Even though it's beautiful and I love to watch it, but I love getting right into the fire and outpowering someone, and then while you outpower them, there are people who have such a high IQ for striking. I mean, you, for example, and you can understand what's going on in striking exchanges. But when I'm in the clinch, I can. I can hear and feel everything. I can hear their breathing. I can feel the tension in their body. I can feel when they've got fight in them, and I can feel when they don't. And I can feel what they don't like and what they are fine with, and I just have a totally different feeling for it when I'm in the clinch. And I love feeling you get into the clinch and they're strong and they're resisting. And as you wear on them, I think it takes a certain type of mentality. Like some people are just grinders, and some people are very explosive, and some people are very slick and super high fight IQ, and some people have crazy reflexes. I don't have crazy reflexes. I'm not particularly fast. Fight IQ is basically zero. But when I'm in the clinch, I can feel their spirit start to break, and I know when they're gonna go, and I love that feeling, bro. Like that's fucking delicious. Like I love just really like locking on tight and feeling them resisting, and you're kneeing, and they're kneeing you, and you're kneeing them, and then at some point you start to feel that they're asking themselves a question, and they're going like, "Is this gonna go well?" And then you start feeling them ask like, can I withstand this? And then you feel them going like, I don't think I can keep doing this. They start trying to get away in silly ways,
Yeah, yeah.
you know what I'm
Head
trying to
out the
say?
clinch, like head down, pulling
Yes,
out. Yeah,
yeah, pushing you
yeah,
away and stuff like that, and
yeah.
you can feel the
Like that.
panic.
It's the panic. Like I think that's what I've noticed when I've been like that in the clinch with someone. I'm not necessarily a grinding kind of clincher, but I've had periods in and certain fights where I've won in the clinch, and it is that. It's like you're not really doing anything too crazy. And like maybe you like you said, they start quite strong and they can kind of withstand some of it, and then after a while you can feel them kind of go. It is weird in the clinch. You almost do feel when they're about to kind of give up, or
Yeah,
and when I say give up, it's not like completely like just go on the floor. It's like when they've mentally, you've took them mentally now, you've won that exchange, and then it's so weird. Then you go into another clinch exchange with them again, and it's a completely different person you're clinching now,
yeah,
and
yeah.
and then it becomes easy. And I think like clinching's hard, and I think that's why a lot of people don't like it as well because it's hard. But like when you're good at it, it's fun. And when you start doing stuff like that to people, and when you're getting the better of someone, when you can feel the strength, and you're like manhandling someone, and you're throwing them about, like that feeling is wicked. And that's why I'm not a clinch fighter, but I do love clinching, and I
It's
think that's the
funny.
reason why.
You say you're not a clinch fighter because it's not your style, but actually, like you have, I think the strongest clinch. I think the strongest person I've ever clinched with is you. You're so ridiculously strong, and it's like you're strong in the gym as well, but your strength in clinch is like somebody who. It's not equal to, let's say, how much you can bench, how much you can deadlift, whatever. You're freakishly strong. It's like anyone who's ever clinched with you knows exactly what I mean. Like, if you don't want somebody getting inside, they're not getting inside. If you want to lock someone up, you're gonna lock them up. If you don't want someone to lock you up, there's no chance they're gonna like. And I guess that's what you develop over years and years and years of doing this one thing, basically. But you're so freakishly good at clinching. Um, and obviously that helped me so much because you got to have a coach who knows how to clinch if you're gonna clinch.
This is actually an interesting point as well with the clinch, because you made a good point that like my kind of clinch compared to like what I can bench or whatever is completely like my clinch is stronger. Like if you watch me bench, you go, oh, he's all right. He's pretty strong for his size, I suppose, but
You're
nothing
strong, yeah.
crazy. And then you like kind of watch me clinch again, and I could clinch people that are bigger and like a lot heavier and stuff. And as soon as I lock on, they're like, fuck, like they feel that power, and people, I mean, loads
Yeah.
of people have told me in the past anyway, but like your a lot of your training regime, actually you do a lot of strength work. So like
Yes.
I know there's certain things definitely that some things definitely like translate, or like you can help translate to clinch, like strength exercises, but like you become freakishly strong as well in clinch. And like when you come down to England, and when I've come to Cyprus, and even the boys at the gym, they're like, wow, like you can feel the strength. But that got more and more over time. But you don't have a lot of training partners, so you've kind of really focused on strength work. What's your thoughts on strength and conditioning translated to Muay Thai, and like how does that help Muay Thai fighters?
Yeah, great question. So, yeah, I didn't have a lot of, I've had periods with good training partners when they, let's say they're in Cyprus for a couple of months or something like that, and I get to get good clinching. But yeah, most of the time it's just me coaching in the gym. And of course, when you're coaching, unless you've got a bunch of world champions, you're basically better than everyone, right? So, it was like I didn't have the stimulus there, so I had to find it in the weight room basically. And my S&C coach is he's a jiu-jitsu practitioner, so he understands combat sports, but he's also a PhD in sports science, so he also knows just the most about sports science basically. Um, and he did so much work with me that did translate. So it doesn't necessarily always translate, but because I was working one on one with a coach who knew exactly what I needed to get strong in these positions, knew exactly how to train me for that. That worked really well for me, and that's where I put the majority of my focus. My training was strength training with Muay Thai as like a surplus, and that was how I did my fighting. It was majority S&C, and then and then the Muay Thai was extra. That's how I looked at it. Just because of the quality of what I was getting here in Cyprus. I think when it comes to fighters in Muay Thai, everybody needs to be doing S&C, and the actual number one reason is Muay Thai is a catabolic sport, just like running, just like endurance sports, basically, which means they break down tissue. But when you do strength training, that is an anabolic stimulus, meaning it has a really positive effect on your hormonal profile and basically, what do you call it, like protein synthesis, like building muscles. So it offsets the damage to muscles and joints and tissue and everything. So you get to balance and not get injured as much. As soon as I started doing lots of S&C, I stopped getting injured, and God willing, like that'll carry on. But I just don't get injured because I'm doing all of this
Same
S&C
to
all
be
the time.
same. I mean, there's certain injuries that obviously my hand's one that's obviously hot, you can't really prevent it. It just kind of happens. But I'd
Yeah.
say when I started with Paolo, that was one thing I did notice. I had always had problem with my right shoulder. Since the fight I had in, I think it was the fight I had in Japan when I was like 19, and I don't know if I overextended on a punch or something like that, but I had problems and I could barely sometimes even lift it up. And then I actually started properly with Paolo consistently. I had a few S&C coaches, but I was very like in and out of it. Like sometimes I'd do it, sometimes I weren't really that serious about doing it for some reason, because at that point it weren't like, it didn't seem important and it wasn't a real big thing at that point. But then I started with Paolo, and I told him same thing. Like I used to work for him maybe 3 times a week, sometimes more, sometimes like 2, 3, 4 times a week, sometimes if I could. And I said to him, look, I can't. I've got a lot of like lack of strength in my right shoulder when I do this movement. And I also went to my physio, Sonny, who's obviously become one of my good friends. And then me and Paolo went together. So then he told Paolo what kind of exercises I need to do to strengthen up that area. And to be
Yeah.
honest, I've never had. It's still definitely like a little bit weaker than the left, but it used to cause me pain like a lot. And I don't think I've had much pain ever since I've started. Like it took a while, and I built it and built it, built it. But like, yeah, I barely get problems with my shoulders anymore, and I think that's down
Yeah.
to the S&C work. One
Yeah.
question
It's
about your S and
vital.
C.
Yeah.
So like, so one question would be, this is probably going to be hard to answer, but if one kind of movement for the clinch, like that's not clinching, what would that movement be? What's the secret?
Okay, so the obvious one would be pull-ups, right? Because there are so many pull-up variations, and anyway, it's always pulling, right? Yeah. So any kind of neutral bar grip, reverse grip, what is that? Supinated, pronated, like whatever it is. But then you can get into super cool stuff like you can get a globe, which is like a round metal ball, and you can actually hold that as if you've got like, let's say the head. Yeah, and you're pulling it down, and you do your pull up on this globe. You can get these things I've got now like cannonballs so that you can work this position because you have to grip the cannonball there. And if you don't grip it like that, it's gonna slide off. So you got to keep that grip. So the pull up is it's not underrated because everybody knows you got to do pull ups from Muay Thai. But what is definitely unknown, underrated, and also I have to say to anybody listening, also actually quite a dangerous exercise. So you should definitely get coaching on this. It's like the one exercise that my coach told me is dangerous and you got to be careful. Is sandbag lifts. So a sandbag is literally what it sounds like. It's a sack. It's varying sizes, right? But it's like a very, very thick canvas sack that you fill with sand and then you strap up multiple times so that the sand doesn't come out. And you can make it. You can get really light ones that weigh like a kilo or whatever. 10 kilos, 12 kilos, 15, 20, whatever. But you can go all the way up to 100 and something kilos. And those ones are so big, you have to actually wrap something around them like a jiu-jitsu belt, right? And hold each side of the belt. And obviously, I don't lift those ones, but I would do sandbag lifts all the time. And you pick it up off the ground by getting your hands all the way underneath it in essentially like a deadlift position, but you're way further, you're way deeper than a deadlift because you're not gripping a bar that's 5 inches, 10 inches off the ground. You're actually going all the way to the ground and then even further underneath by getting your hands touching underneath this sandbag. And then what you have to do is a Romanian deadlift up to your knees, right? Which is like a straight leg deadlift. Then you need to sit down into a deep squat and sit it on your legs. Then you need to hug it really tight around your body like that, right? Or if it's wider, you hold like that. But you have to squeeze it incredibly tightly to your chest and your stomach to avoid rupturing a disc or getting a hernia or anything like that. You have to squeeze it really, really tight and then stand up with it from that position. And then you drop it and you go again. And it's incredibly cardiovascularly exhausting, which is an underrated aspect of it. It's like crazy cardio. But it's such a draining exercise for every part of the body and involves this massive squeeze. And I really contribute a lot of my lock strength to that, right? Because
Yeah, yeah,
you're lifting, I think I've done like 80 kilos before, which is, my next fight was gonna be at 59. So I'm lifting 80 kilos
yeah.
and you gotta pick it up like 5 times. And you got to pick it up by squeezing it to your body as tight as you possibly can and just standing up with it. It's this whole body exercise. And I think that is probably anybody who wants to be strong in the clinch needs to find a coach who can teach them how to lift a sandbag and then do some sandbag lifting and be super careful. But that to me, if you had to pick one exercise, that'd be the one. Not even pull-ups, just that one.
Nice. Okay, I didn't. I thought you were definitely going to say pull-ups, but I
Yeah,
didn't. I didn't know about the sandbag one, so that's interesting.
that's crazy.
Okay, well, so like you talked a little bit about like so we talked about your fight style being like Muay Thai, and that's what you really enjoyed. You said about Pet Boonshu. So what I was going to actually ask anyway, and it's like me and you have spoke at length a lot when you've been at my house and whatnot. What was your favorite era in Muay Thai?
So I've recently got into the golden age, the golden era, but that was not my favorite actually. Starting out, I really liked. You'll know more about this, but it's like the 2005s to the 2015s, maybe plus or minus maybe 3 4 years. Sanchai was still fighting, but he had to go up weight classes now, so he was kind of always the smaller guy. Pet Boonchu was active. Singdan was still active, I think. Superlek was kind of like a young, well, not super young, but kind of the prodigy coming through. He still had Sangmani coming through, but he'd already also made a name for himself. Who else did you have? You had Muay Thai.
So
Um,
many.
yeah,
Same,
so many of the.
contact. Yeah.
There we go, Same. Same was still absolutely kicking it. Pampayak was really coming through at that time. That was like the era of fighters that now are all the legends, let's say, and mostly still active, but that was when they cut their teeth basically. And that's my favorite era. I absolutely love that era of Muay Thai. And probably a lot of it is due to just Muay Thais, the YouTube channel, not the
Yeah.
sport, obviously. You know it because you're on it, Dan McGowan on Muay Thais. But
Actually,
this guy,
funny though.
this
There's a couple. There's a couple on there. There's one where I lost though, so don't watch that one.
we don't watch that one. I've never seen it. In
We
fact,
don't
I've
watch that one.
reported it.
No,
I've
don't
reported it
even
to
worry about it.
YouTube. It's AI. So yeah. Fuck whoever that guy was. Anyway, please don't hurt me. Um, so it was this German guy he works for One Championship now, but he would set up his camera and he would just film these fights, and it's thanks to him that we have record of these incredible fights, and I think that's why that was my favorite era. But since then, I've really moved into the golden era. Obviously, love Lam Namoon, Mr. Mean, Lang Swan. Um, there's just some incredible fighters in the golden era because they let the clinch go. They let it go. You could start clinching at the beginning of the round, and the ref would let you clinch until the end of the round, basically. He wouldn't stop it unless there was genuinely no activity or obviously if somebody gets swept. But they would just let the clinch go forever. You could just clinch non-stop if you
Actually,
wanted to.
that's one thing as well. In that era, you didn't see them sweep a lot, and it's like
No.
going full circle. Like now RWS and Rajadamnan, like they're getting penalised for sweeping, and I don't know if it's going back to that. I don't even know if it was a rule back then, to be honest, if you're allowed to sweep or not. But I noticed they just would exchange in the clinch a lot, where they'd try and get good position in, and it's basically like we were just talking about, like grinding down who can basically withstand the clinch the most and who can get into a better position. Every now and then they'd turn, but it wasn't like how it is now. Like people are sweeping people like loads and stuff now. And that's what I liked about that era as well. Like they would just clinch off, and like there was so many things that even like there was one thing that got stopped, and I think now you got to take 2 steps and you got to strike when you
Yeah,
catch someone's
yeah.
kick. Before you're allowed to plow and you're allowed to literally run with a leg, and you'd seen
You
some like
fucking yeet
crazy
them out the
crazy
ring,
videos.
bro.
Well, that happened. I think I don't know if someone died or something like that. I think something serious happened to one fighter.
Yeah.
That happened to him, and I think they banned the plow after that, and it was like 2 steps and
That's
then
when they banned
strike.
it. Yeah. Yeah, because some guy
Yeah,
got
so
thrown out of the ring and got hurt.
proper yeeted. It was bad, but yeah, I'd say I agree with you. Favorite era of Muay Thai was probably the same sort of time. I like the golden era, don't get me wrong, but I think I spent so much time watching that, like you said, like the 2005, 2015. There were so many. You know what? There's so many people that I watched. I was the same. I was on Muay Thai's like every day, and even the fighters that weren't really that famous, like there's one lad that I used to like. There's a couple like Wan Chai. He used to train at Kiat Mugao. I showed you, the one what locked on. He done the knee and he like jumped as he kneed when what we
Yes,
were
yeah,
practicing in the
yeah,
gym.
yeah, yeah.
So him, he was always in really exciting fights. Then there was like Palangpon, sorry, that
Yeah,
from Petchendy. Mate,
yeah.
I'm gonna actually speak about him a little bit later on in the segment because I love his fight style. There were so many like unknowns, but I used to know every single one of them, from like 102 pounds to like 140 pounds. Like I felt like I knew every like fighter basically. So for me, and it was
You're
just
such
week
a
after week.
student
There
of the
was
game, actually.
Yeah, well, I'd say like back then, it's weird now because it's actually, I was thinking about this the other day. I was like the podcast has made me kind of think like I think I was going to ask someone who was their favorite fighter. Then I thought, who's mine? And I actually don't even know right now who is my favorite fighter. But back then, I would have listed you probably a top 10 easily, like that. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just feel like that era for me was a lot more exciting. I don't know if it's because I was in it, completely in it, or if it was just genuinely more exciting. I'm not too sure, but yeah, what an era, and I kind
I
of miss
think
it.
it
But then
was more
I
exciting,
understand.
bro.
Yeah, I understand like that things obviously change, and I've spoke about this on the podcast before, but like I love like and we're going to get onto it like RWS and stuff like that. I do love RWS and what they're trying to do, and I think it's definitely helping grow into like an international audience. But yeah, I don't know, that old school them nights in Lumpini and Rajadamnern Stadium, they were just different level for me. I thought it was so
Yeah,
exciting.
yeah.
We'll move on to like I mentioned RWS. I wanted to speak about the Yoffin fight that just happened. Again, I know you're a big fan of Yoffin, and same as me. And I wanted to get your take on the fight and what you kind of thought, and not not gonna say like, do you think he's kind of coming towards the like late? Well, he is obviously coming to the later stages of his career, but do you think that kind of his fight style, being a Muay Thai, being that guy that grinds people down, is that catching up with him? Was it ring rust? Was it being out for too long? What do you think it was? And how did you see that fight?
I got so many thoughts on this, bro, because I was also talking about it with somebody, and it's like it's really easy to point out his age, but when you look at that fight, he ate some bombs, bro. He ate some like absolutely clean right hooks, left hooks, straight right, like, and he didn't wobble, he didn't like stumble, he didn't anything, bro. His head barely moved, like. I don't think it's age because when it's age catching up with you, your durability starts to go, all of that. You look slow, let's say. I didn't feel like he looked slow. He definitely didn't look like his durability was going. I think, well, first of all, what's his? It's Chabcard or Chakbard? Chabcard,
Yeah,
his
Chapcard.
opponent.
So Chapcard is it? Yeah, Chapcard.
Chapcard. Yeah. So I think that's such an incredibly hard style to deal with. Anyway, it's like when you watch the UFC and a guy comes back after a long layoff and he's a striker and you give him like a wrestler, he's gonna struggle. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So anyway, like that
I,
was a really really tough matchup. Really tough
I
matchup.
said the same. I was speaking to Alex Mavor yesterday. Actually, I done a little segment with him for his channel, and he
Yeah.
was he we were both speaking about it, and I said it kind of reminded me of when I fought Mario Alvarez after the 3 year layoff. Like it's
Uh,
such a like tough fight to come back to, because someone that's going to come forward, hit your body a lot, and Yoffin's body got hit a lot as well, and I think that actually
yes.
kind of swayed the fight, to be honest. It
Yeah.
was like that, and I remember how hard that was in the fight. I was like, this is horrendous. Like I just couldn't get a break. I couldn't get my footing right, and I was getting tired really quickly because I'd been out for so long as well. And I think watching Yoffin fight against Chapcard, sorry, I think it kind of reminded me of that, but just in a different style. And you know what though, he come with a great plan, and like I said, I think he targeted his body a lot, and
Yeah.
he was almost willing to get elbowed or whatever, just to go like, even when they're in close range, just bomb to the body, like them straight right to the body. I think it's, you know what, actually, it's a shot that has worked really well for me in my career. That straight to the body, it's so easy, but it's kind of underutilized. I think a lot of Thais use it, and that's the reason why I started using it, because a few of the Thais were doing it to me, even in training. Like we'll be clinching, they'll just punch my body, like stab it, and I remember like thinking it doesn't hurt, but it's like it just gets you breathing differently, and then after a while, 5 rounds of that, it starts hurting. I think that's what he done to Yoffin. He just hit his body, chipped away at him, and then by round 3, 4, you could tell Yoffin, for the first time, I ain't really ever seen him tired like that, to be honest.
No, me
He
neither.
looked like he
Yeah.
was tiring out. So it was weird to see. But then
Yeah.
it's weird because we can overanalyze all this stuff and go, oh, is he a little bit older now? He's had a lot of fights, the layoff, or at that level, did he just come across someone that was just better than him on that night?
Yeah, I think two things. One is he could have just got beat. Even if he'd fought 2 months ago, Chabkar could have just beat him because he had the perfect game plan. He was super durable. If you rewatch the highlights, he was getting elbowed, like you said. He was literally eating elbows. They weren't missing. Like maybe you're watching and you're going, oh, I guess these are missing. Now they were landing, bro. Like he was getting elbowed in the face, and he just would not stop. So he could
Yeah.
have still beat Yotin, but I think also you do have to factor in the long layoff because what's the one thing that gets affected? It's fight cardio, right? Like
Yeah.
your cardio is just
Proper.
not the same after a long layoff. You know, Yotin's IQ is not going to be affected. His timing is not going to be affected. His ring strategy, whatever, it's not going to be affected. He's not going to be, you know, jittery inside the ring. But what's the one thing that will be affected because it's just physiological? He's going to be more tired, and I think it was a bit of a mix of both. Just excellent game plan and a really tough opponent in Chebkard. But I think Yotin's cardio just wasn't there, and was getting drained by those body shots. And I think also it just seems like Yotin is on the verge of retirement. Even when he got asked if he wants to fight again in RWS later in the year, he just like in the post-fight interview, he just said, "I'm gonna see how I feel and see what I want to do, and we'll go from there." And it's like I think he's, you know, from what I've heard, he's made good investments. He's set. Do you know what I'm saying? Like he's good with money. It's not like
He,
he's poor.
yeah. It's this is the he come to my gym in England actually and done a seminar, and he done a whole tour around the UK, and I know how much he was charging because obviously I paid. So then you work it
Yeah,
out and you're like, whoa, you're actually making serious money. Like, you know, like it's and so like fully deserved, by the way. And I think like I'm glad that they're all getting that opportunity to make that kind of money. But for years, when they're fighting in the stadiums, like the era we were just talking about, he was very much part of that kind of era.
yeah,
It They got paid peanuts, but there was also, I don't think they realised that they could go and do seminars like they are now. Like, a lot of them are going to different gyms around Europe, around all around the world, Australia, like Japan. They're going all over the place, and they're getting paid good money to do it. Even, to be honest, even in Thailand now, like Arjan Watt and people like that, like they're making good money now. Do you know, like
yeah.
it's becoming more easier to make money outside of the ring. And what I noticed when I was there before, when I was fighting in Thailand, is a lot of the Thais didn't want to actually fight. They were kind of forced to fight because it was a way of feeding their family. So once it gets to the stage where you can be like a Yoffin, where you can go wherever you want in the world and get paid thousands of dollars or pounds or whatever, it's probably going to be hard to motivate yourself to fight someone like a chap card. Do you know what I mean? Like it's probably
You
going to be
can't
hard. And
do that.
if no, it's hard. It's hard. And I'm kind of, I've not even had nowhere near as many fights as Yoffin, but I get it. You know, like after like 20 years of fighting, you're like, do I want to keep this going? Like it's hard. Because again, I'm talking even financially. Like I run my gym now, and I've probably made more money in 3 years of running a gym than I ever did in my fight career over 20 years, which is mental.
Yeah,
But
which is
that's just how
crazy.
it is. And I think that's another factor of why maybe I don't fight, because I'm like, I've kind of got comfortable now. And I know it sounds mad, and it's weird to admit it, but you get this kind of comfort. You're like, well, my goal this whole time was to become massive and be big in the fight game, but I wanted it to be my life, and I feel like it finally is my life, and this is my livelihood, and like the fighting and thing. Once you get that, it's really hard to actually get yourself up and actually do it. And I'm guessing that's what's maybe happening to Yoffin right now, and a lot of them kind of fighters that are on the
Yeah.
end of towards the end of their career.
I think so, bro. And you see, like, you know, and far be it from me to criticize, but Superlek has not been in shape for how many fights now? Rod Tang has not been in shape for how many fights now? Whereas they used to be like absolutely shred city, vicious animals. And then they got literally famous and they're rich now. You know, I don't know to what extent, but they're definitely well off. Um, and I think it just becomes super hard. I 100% understand that. I'll be sad if Jotun wants to call it a day on his career because I love him so much. But I also think here's one other thing is this is well publicized is that Jotun was actually a Famur fighter apparently. but he was kind of like made to fight Muay Thai because that was what won in the stadiums in that era that we were talking about. And it turned out he was
Yeah,
incredible
he
at it.
told me that. He
Did
told me
he?
that when he come here. Like, yeah, I got to ask him some really good questions. Actually, I took him out with Pan. He actually, to be honest, his English was really good as well. But I took him out. Him and Pan and his girlfriend went out for some food or something in Bedford, and I asked him like about his like fight career and stuff like that. And he said I was actually a Muay Thai fighter like from when I started. And I asked him a few other questions like who was your hardest ever fight? Do you reckon you know who his hardest fight was?
I can't think of the name I'm trying to think of, so I might, but I might not. But tell me.
So he told me Kalpayak was his hardest ever like hardest fight in terms of like Kalpayak's IQ.
Yes, yes, that is exactly the one I was thinking of. Did he get cut in that fight?
I can't remember. I did watch it, but I went back and watched it after he told me that just to see what actually how that fight went. But yeah, he was telling me that, and but then that's what got on to him telling me about how his fight style was actually a Muay Thai, and then but he was actually
Yeah.
made to clinch basically.
Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah, I think it was
oh
that one because I remember watching him in a fight and he got cut, and I was like, he is really struggling here. I'll have to watch it back and see if it's that one. But that's so interesting that that was his hardest fight.
yes, it was yeah. I thought that was interesting. I think it's more from the fact that you just when you're getting it's actually sometimes all right getting beat not all right, but it's sometimes not that bad getting beat up. But when someone's really just taking the piss out of you and literally
Yes,
not letting you get near them, that is such a horrible feeling. Um,
it's much
you
worse.
feel helpless. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. Well, look, I know we're kind of pushed for time. Actually, I just clocked what the time was, but
I
we'll
moved
move
it
on
back. Don't
quickly.
worry, bro. I
Okay,
moved the
cool.
sparring back. I sent a message.
Okay, sweet. The next question I had that, or like the next thing I wanted to talk about is, I've got a couple more things. It would be going on to the RWS. Obviously, your thing just fought on RWS, and you see the production and stuff like that they have on like the Zone and on them kind of channels. Do you think they are now like the kind of leaders in Muay Thai, and are they kind of setting that standard in Muay Thai? Because to me, like they've really like took it to another level in the last year or so, I'd say now, and they've got some unbelievable matchups in April coming up. So yeah,
Yeah,
talk to me. And what
ridiculous.
do you think? What do you think about that?
Yeah, 100%. So that might be like a hot take because really, like in terms of eyeballs, who are the leaders? It's definitely one championship. Like they've kind of like globalized the sport basically. But I think in terms of actual Muay Thai, so there was like there was even a move from the what is it, Thailand Sport Authority or whatever, to get one championship to stop calling their matches Muay Thai because they were saying this is not Muay Thai, so we don't want you calling it Muay Thai. I don't think that went anywhere. I think obviously they're still
I
calling
didn't
it
even know
Muay
about
Thai.
that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just I never heard about it again. I read one article and that was it. So it must have got squashed, but. They get the eyeballs in, but the way I look at one championship is that's the wide funnel. So in business terms, obviously you know about this. You got a funnel, and the widest part of the funnel is what brings all the people in, the customers, if you're thinking about it in a business sense. And then as the funnel gets narrower, that's where you take people down to the higher quality product. And obviously, in business terms, the products that will make you the most money. So one championship funnels in the casuals, and I use that term lovingly and endearingly because casuals fund our sport, like 90% of viewers are casuals. Um, and then once they're into Muay Thai, then they start seeing RWS and then they realize, oh, this is real Muay Thai. This is actually what it is. This is super high quality. It respects the traditions. It still has elements of 5 round Muay Thai, especially obviously in the title fights. Um, but then they're also understanding that we need a little bit more entertainment. So, they've changed up the rule set a little bit. RWS is 100% leading the way. Um, it's basically all I watch now in terms of combat sports. I stopped watching the UFC. I don't watch one. RWS delivers even when they're nobodies, bro. Even when I have no clue who is in the red corner and who's in the blue corner. It's like, fucking like eight times out of 10 or 7 times out of 10 going to be an incredible fight. Because the matchmakers really know what they're doing. The commentators, obviously, Joe and Aram. Is it Aram? Yeah. Uh,
Aaron, yeah.
they're Aaron. They're incredible. Um, and the fighters, I think they're making good enough money where they're able to get these quite big fighters. Obviously, they don't have Superlek, Rodtang, Tawanchai, whatever, but they're getting big fighters. They're getting up and comers. They're discovering a lot of talent. They're finding these really, like, let's say, unknown fighters and developing them into stars. Their production quality is ridiculous. Their media team is the best, I think. I think their social media team is better than One Championship. The way they do their highlights, the way they do their little reels and stuff, they're just outstanding, bro. The quality is outstanding. I'm so happy with them. The only time I've been unhappy with them, and this is going to sound very biased and funny, but they did Savas dirty like a few times. Do you know what I'm saying? Or is it a few times? It might literally just be the one time. No, it's the one time.
I think
Stop.
I think the did he fight? Did he fight Joseph from Jit Moon Nun? Was that on no, that weren't
I
RWS,
don't
was it?
think.
That was just
I
a
don't
normal
think so. He fought.
normal five
He
round.
fought Don Pong on RWS.
That's it, yeah.
Then he fought
He lost that 100% lost. I think that was a fair
100%.
decision.
Yeah.
I think it was Samingdet, the number one Samingdet fight.
It was that one. That bro. Listen.
Yeah.
Before I absolutely lose it in a very Mediterranean manner, I'm gonna try and keep it together because they obviously scored that fight under 5 round Muay Thai traditional scoring, but didn't let anybody know and were pretending that they were using the open scoring. So if you score that fight under 5 round Muay Thai, yes, Samingdet wins. But if you score it under the entertainment rule set with open scoring, which they professed that they were doing, when it gets to the 5th round and it's a judgment round and nothing happens except for one sweep, who wins the round, bro?
This is what I thought. Like it, it's a hard one because I feel like if you were people, I saw a mix of. I see a lot of people thinking the same thing and thinking Savas won, and I thought Savas won actually, to be honest. But I also seen a few people here and there say that like, nah, 5 round Muay Thai, like Savas actually didn't win the fight. It probably would have. It could have been different if it was like a traditional 5 round. Gamblers were there and whatnot. Maybe something that would have won it, yeah, or should have won it in that kind of way. In terms of like, he had a lot of effect with his kick. He obviously showed, like he done some good. Like it was a great fight. Don't get me wrong, but I was confused with the scoring in that one because I think there was a couple of rounds before that they gave to Savas, and the same thing
Yep.
happened in round 5, and they gave it against him, and I was like, that's what confused me about the fight. I thought. I weren't, you know what? Like, I suppose you can't call it a robbery. I think the way
No.
it's not a robbery because it was a close fight, but I think they fucked the scoring up a little bit in round 5, and I think that did rob him of his moment. To be fair, so it weren't an
Yeah.
actual robbery, but it robbed Savas of that kind of glory moment that he should have. So, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm with you, and again biased because obviously he's my friend. I really wanted him to win that, and that you know what. Actually, if he won that, because I remember being at home watching it on the Zone, and I was on the edge of my seat, and I'm thinking, I've seen him since 15 years old, like dedicate his whole life to this, and like I've seen him get knocked out, break his arm against Lurdzilla. I've chatted to him, like me and him personally, and I know like how much it hurt him when he got beat. And then I went to One Championship, and I was in Jakarta with him, and he lost to Taki Naito, and he just
Yeah.
didn't get things going on One Championship and stuff like that. And then he went back to like the 5 round Muay Thai, and I was like, then he's going back to how he was, and then he went to Bang Tao. I've seen the whole evolution of him, and I was watching that fight thinking, this is his moment. And it, you know what? Could have actually like I got a bit emotional watching him because I was like, this is sick. Like he's got to do it. And we've spoke about him being a champion for years. And then when they gave it against him, and then you see his reaction, I was like,
Oh, it was
oh
terrible.
man,
It was terrible.
oh it was sad, sad,
He wears his heart on his
sad man,
sleeve. That's what I love about
proper.
him is, his reaction is so like you never see people react like that because they're trying to keep a stoic exterior, but you see how much it means to him. And yeah, like you said, bro, maybe even under the entertainment scoring, maybe there was supposed to be rounds that they gave to Savas given to Samingdet, but the judges scored it how they scored it. And you get to round five, you've scored it. It's done. Even if you've
Yeah.
made a mistake in the previous rounds, you're there. Now, if nothing happens in that
Mm,
round and Savas is the one who does the only thing that happens, bro, they definitely robbed him of that moment. But then, he lost the
mm.
rematch fair and square. But then, yeah, don't get me started. I was about to go on to Channel 7 when he fought Superleg, and I'm gonna piss everyone off, basically.
It's
Everybody
like
loves to hate on people who love Savas.
yeah, it's yeah, they do actually, but it's one of them. It's weird because like from both sides of the coin, you got like the Channel 7 thing, the way they score it, and then they got the RWS, and then both them. They were both completely different, but the same sort of outcome. I think that one was even worse. I'm not gonna lie. That
Much
confused me
worse,
watching
bro.
that.
Much
Yeah, that
worse.
one was worse because him and Samandet had some good exchanges, and it was like quite like I felt like Samandet was effective with a lot of the shots he was throwing, but then that Superlek one, I just couldn't get my head around how they scored that. To be honest, I was really confused.
Bro, you know how they
But
scored
yeah,
it? They scored it. Oh, look, a white boy, he loses. That's how they scored that. You know what I'm saying?
seemed like that.
Yeah.
It did seem a little bit like
Yeah,
that.
bro.
But
Well, yeah.
we'll, we'll move on anyway to a little segment that we're going to do. We're going to do a couple of little segments actually, two more things. But here's a question:
Go on.
any era, it can be any era, any fighter from that era. What is the fantasy matchup that you would make?
Wait, but weight classes or just pound for pound?
Uh, let's do weight classes first, and then pound for pound. Oh no, let's do pound for pound first, like just some craziness, and then we'll do like if you can think of a weight class one, then do that.
Well, I think it kind of works anyway, bro, because I think they might have been the same weight class. I mean, it's probably you could probably guess this, but I'd love to see Lam Namoon and Pet Boonchu. Love to see the two of them
Oh
together
yes,
because I
that's
mean,
sick.
two of the greatest clinch fighters of all time, but very different styles. Pepinchu's so patient and kind of does what he has to do to win every exchange, whereas Lambda Moon hyper aggressive, very very willing to take damage, would often take damage, and then just the two of them going at it would probably look a lot like Yodwicher versus Pet Boonchu, but maybe better, maybe just even better clinch exchanges, more damage, more excitement. So I would do that, and then I would probably do. It's funny. I would do Muay Thai versus who would I do Muay Thai with? I'd do Muay Thai in his prime versus Rod Tang because Muay Thai is such a legend because it's like I've got this fighter Saba, Saba really well, but
Mm.
he's one of my fighters, and he just like he takes blocking punches as optional, right? It's just optional if you'd like to block a punch. Maybe you can just let it hit you right in the face. You can just choose in the moment. And Muay Thai took that to the extreme in every fight, bro. He's fighting Kulabdam, the left meteorite. You're fighting a man whose fist is named after a force of nature, and you're just like, I think I'm gonna not block these. I think I'm gonna let these hit my face for no reason. No reason.
Yeah,
I could just, but I'm just gonna. And he's like,
yeah.
can he withstand Rod Tang's punches and cut him up, slice and dice? I think that would be an absolute. I don't think they're not the
Oh,
same weight class, are they?
I think they might have been near. I think Muay Thai might have been a tiny bit bigger, but at some point in their careers, I think they have been. They've both fought at a similar weight. I'm pretty sure. I think I think prime Muay Thai and Rotang. I think let's say the stadium version of them. I think Muay Thai might have been a tiny bit bigger, but stylistically, I think Muay Thai could have won that fight.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, 100%. But that's the thing. I would like to see it with the 4 ounce gloves, which I'm not usually a fan of, but I'd like to see it with the 4 ounce gloves, but prime versions, because yeah, I think
Yeah,
Rodtang's a little bit nerfed by the big gloves. But in the 4 ounce gloves, he's got missiles in his hands. And I would love
yeah,
to see. And the thing about Rodtang that people don't appreciate, when he fought Jacob Smith, he had a broken right hand, was it? Or left? I think right hand. I think his right hand was broken.
yeah.
So if
I
you
think he did. Yeah,
yeah, if you watch that fight, he doesn't throw it. He just kind of like slices and dices and does some really beautiful, like long range clinching. He didn't really like. He wasn't going forwards and locking up or anything, but he did all the hand trapping, and it was like how Muay Thai fights, but it was also cleaner. So I think he could also definitely exchange with Muay Thai in those situations. So we would probably see some kind of crazy elbow battle, and then obviously fists flying, and that would just be fight of the century. But I think Muay Thai's a little bit past it now. In terms of his chin for the 4 ounce gloves, obviously he's still doing his thing, but I think Rodtang might be just a bit too much for him now. But yeah, that would be my prime. What about yours? What would you choose?
you know what? I didn't really think about it for, and I should have, but I'm trying to think. A lot of the fights that like back in the day, that in the era I was watching, I was like, actually, did Lamanin, did he fight against? There were different eras. I think again. Who am I thinking of? Diesel Noy. Were they the same
No,
weight or?
no. I think so. Dieselo was 131, and I think Labna Moon was the same. I could be totally wrong, but I think they
Because
were different eras,
did
and I don't know why, because they were golden era, both of them.
I think because actually Pan knows them quite well. It's like
Wow.
Samart and Diesel. No, they're like good friends. And but
Wow.
Palm was before them. Palm was before them, or he was definitely before Samart. I think like just before those. But I don't know if that was all the same era. Like, I don't know if there was a like long era that was the golden era. Obviously, a few of them must have dropped off or whatever. But
Yeah, probably.
yeah, Laminin I think is a little bit younger, so that would have been after them guys. I think. But
Yeah.
that would be maybe one because I think like obviously both real good clinchers. That would have been just a who's going to meet in the middle and who's going to win the exchange.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Samar. I'm trying to think of what. Let me actually look what their weights were. Sorry, I'll be quick. But
So we can be accurate
what
with it.
weight? Yeah, was Samar because he was like one of my favorite fighters. Samar, like he's the reason why I love Teepin so much, and
Oh, no way.
so his heaviest was 126 pounds. So let's think at 126, Samar versus Sammy. I'd say prime Sammy.
Oh,
What a fight!
crazy.
Just off the
Crazy.
dome like that. Just off the dome,
Crazy
straight off.
matchup. Who wins that, though?
Sammy. Oh, you know what? Both. I give it. Oh, that's a hard one. Like prime. Both of them in their prime. Both dangerous. Got like Sammy had like weren't known for his punches, but he's pinpoint accurate with his punches. Good teeps. So does Samar. He had a good teep. Like Sammy, obviously known for his left kick. That's a tough one. I actually don't know who would win that fight. Maybe Sam. Oh, yeah, no, I couldn't even answer that. I think both of
That's
them
a
could
coin
win that
flip.
fight. I'd say,
Yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think both of them could win that fight. But that would be interesting. Sam A versus that's if they're both. I think because yeah, Sam A used to fight around 126. Sometimes even he fought lighter as well. But yeah, 126 pounds. If they were both that would have been mad. Actually, that would have been a wicked fight. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think
You know, I'm gonna
that's one
throw
I'd go
another
for.
one in there. I'm gonna throw another one in there because this is no joke, but I've said to you multiple times that I still think if you were in the grind, like fighting all the time, I still think you're the best in the world, and I think like you versus Superlek would be a fight that I would want to see. Obviously, he's bigger, but let's say when he was younger, he was quite small, so like he probably like he was quite super lean. That would be an amazing fight to see, just because you're both like aggressive fumeurs, basically.
Yeah, I think actually he was always he did always fight a little bit heavier than me when I was like kind of in my kind of in the stadiums and stuff like that. He was always
Yeah,
a couple of weights maybe above me, or maybe yeah, maybe a couple of weights, but there weren't a lot in it. So I'm talking like maybe he was 128 pounds maybe, and I was like fighting at 122, 124 pounds. So there wasn't
yeah,
like a
sure.
crazy amount in it. And I always thought that he was like on the videos. I thought he looked a lot bigger than me, and then I actually met him in person when I fought Rungnarai, and we were like he was a little bit bigger than me, I suppose, like in terms of like maybe a tiny bit thicker. But in terms of height, I think we were very similar. Um,
Yeah,
one I would add on if it was myself to fight anyone, and this fight actually it was scheduled and it fell through. I was scheduled to fight against Wan Chalong, PK Senchai, and I'd watched him.
Oh,
Yeah, and I'd just beaten like I'd just beaten Ryan Shi and then Rungnarai. I think at that point I was on like a 7 or 8 fight win streak, but I'd also broken my hand a couple of times in between that. So like in that kind of win streak. So like I had a bit of periods off and then come back and I'd win, have periods off, win, and that I beat Rungnarai, and then literally I think the week after I got offered to fight Wan Chalong on Top King World Series.
yeah,
It was actually in China. It was actually meant to be in China. It all got scheduled, and he's crazy, and
yeah.
he was Channel 7 and Lumpini champion at the time at 115 or 180 or 118. And he was like kind of talking shit a little bit online. Like not I think he was more joking, but not many Thais do that. But he's like a proper wind up merchant, and he was like writing stuff about me online, like that he's just gonna like
What was he
basically that
saying?
this foreign. Well, the way it translated in Thai to English was this foreign potato, something about this foreign potato, like he's gonna get taken to school type thing, and I was like, this foreign potato. um, and so I ended up going to Thailand to train for it because I was like that would have been like I beat Rungnarai, who at the time was on a mad streak as well, but I then so Rungnarai actually fought as well at 118, and but it weren't his like best weight 118, but he won the title at that weight. I think I can't remember what stadium title, but he won a 118 title. But people's criticism to that fight when I beat him was, oh yeah, but Daniel was bigger. But even though in the fight I wasn't really that much bigger than him, maybe a tiny bit taller, like but not nothing too crazy in it. And my thing was, okay, like Wan Chalong was the champion of the weight that I was fighting at, like, and that was his like comfortable weight, let's say, like his best weight or whatever. So I thought, all right, Wan Chalong, and at that point in time, I thought 100% I'll knock him out. Like that was like
Yeah,
my thing in my head. I was like, I'm going to beat this guy, and I loved watching him fight growing up on Muay Thais and stuff like that. So that would have been and basically I got to Thailand to train for it. I went to Petchendy, and then Boat was like, oh, did you not hear Top King's cancelled? And I was like, what?
oh,
He's like, yeah, basically something happened with the Chinese government in that area, and they completely they just cancelled the whole event. And I was like, and I ended up having to fight Tanadet. That's when I fought him, and that was like kind of like 2 or 3 weeks notice, and I fought him in Rangsit Stadium instead, which was still like again I'd watched him fight for years, but Wan Chalong was like one of like my heroes growing up, like watching him
well, he's a
online.
legend. Yeah,
Um, yeah, in some crazy fights and great kicks, good elbows. So yeah, that would have been one of my like. I really wish that happened because I think it would have been a hard fight, but I think I would have beaten him. So yeah, that would be my fantasy matchups. But
that's a good shout.
we'll do one more thing, and we'll do this really quick. Yeah, but Is there a gym at the moment? Because we last week's podcast we spoke about Paranchai gym
Yeah.
with like Jom, Dam, and Chalam, and all them kind of fighters. Is there a gym at the moment in Thailand that you look at and go, that's a serious gym?
Yeah, there is actually. So I think they're rebranding to Mavor, but it's oh gosh, I've forgotten the original name,
No,
bro.
I know who you're on about. Sigma Win gym.
There we go, thank you. So they're not like exactly flying under the radar, but they kind of are in terms of who they've got training there. I think they either have or had oh my gosh, and this name is leaving me too. Used to train at Pet D, was fine on one, was the
Peshmerga,
champion. Thank you. So
Peshmerga,
I
yeah.
think he either was training there or still is. So Pet Marcotte was there, Tapakea was there, is there, sorry, Shadow's there. There's a bunch of fighters, bro, at Singmo Win, which is becoming Mavor apparently, or Maver. Um,
I think it's Mawin. I think it's just they've just
Moin,
shortened it. I think.
Moin.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. That gym is like not getting enough love in terms of I think they because I know someone who trains out there and apparently it's like super high quality number one like it's not a poor gym or whatever. They do like a lot of S&C. They're really on it with like keeping up with the science, let's say, but then authentic Thai training, like proper Thai training, and they're just
Yeah.
killing it, bro. Their fighters are always ridiculously strong. Who else is from there? The guy who just fought Nung Lang Lek. Who's the guy Nung Lang Lek just fought?
Um.
Hun Han Lek. Hun
Oh
Han
yeah,
Lek.
yeah.
I'm
Uh,
pretty sure. I'm pretty sure he's out of the Singmo in.
you got that Alex, the French fighter.
Yeah, yeah. There you go.
So,
Another one
so
who's gonna
I
be
actually,
a legend.
yeah, he's quality. So him and Shadow come to the gym, and I met them all. They done a seminar at my gym as well, and I met them two and the gym owner of Singmo Inn, and
Yeah.
he's really nice. What I kind of felt from him is that like some of the Thai gyms and the bosses of the gyms are like quite serious and seem quite horrible sometimes. But he seemed really like he's got aura. Don't get me wrong, he had the aura of like a boss, but he was actually seemed really nice. And I feel like when I see him on the TV and when I see him online, it looks like he kind of like looks like he really loves the fighters as well.
Yeah.
And actually, he brought his kids. His kids come down, and he was telling me a lot of his business ideas of like he wanted to run a gym in England, in London. He wants to open a big gym. I think he's got serious capital, and
He's got that
he
cash sticking out
he
his
then
back pocket.
that's it. And then I gave his two kids McGowan Muay Thai merch,
Yeah.
and Shadow and Alex and that. And he was like so thankful that he was like, if you ever come to Thailand and any of your fighters want to train at my gym or you want to train, like you can come for free. And I was like, I might have to take you up on
Okay.
that. Namsak Noi, the Emperor, I think that was his nickname. He is a
Yeah.
trainer at Sigma Win. He's one of the, and when I was in Singapore at Evolve, he was actually I think he'd left. Like, I'm not too sure how long before, but a lot of the Singaporeans there were saying like when he was there, he was like an unbelievable coach. Like apparently like attention to detail, unreal. Cared a lot for his fighters, but was really apparently like harsh and strict, but like really cared for his fighters. And I've noticed that he's in the corner for a lot of them guys in Sigma Win now. So yeah, their trainers look top notch to be honest as well. So yeah,
I
if you're in
forgot about him. Namsak Noor. Yeah, wow.
yeah, Namsan Noor legend, and I think it's based in Bangkok, and I think they're opening the gym in Pattaya. So yeah, if you're in them kind of areas, go hit them up and have a look at what they've got to offer.
Well, that's the
Yeah,
recipe, bro.
so
I think if you're just kind, bro, if you're just a good person and you know what you're doing, you're gonna make some magic. And really, that's what's happening with you as well. I think like with McGowan and Muay Thai, it's like it's so on the rise, and then you can go like, oh well, what's going on there? So obviously, you're. Is there anybody in the UK who's more of a legend than you? I mean, obviously you've got Liam Harrison, but like in terms of like I don't know, like what's the word I'm looking for? Maybe I don't need to compare. But my point is like, there's nobody above you, is what I'm trying to say. So you could look at that, but then also when you're actually at the gym, the atmosphere is incredible. You clearly love all of your students. You give 100% of yourself for your students. And I'm a firm believer that the coach creates the culture of the gym, and it's not enforced, it just trickles down from them as a person. So when you've got a gym run by a thug, right, like a guy who's just a bit of a thug, you get a bunch of students who are thugs coming in and they gravitate towards that person. And when you get a gym that's run by somebody who's never been good with their weight and balloons up between fights, you get all their fighters doing the same shit. And then so you've created this culture just by being like the person that you are, which is, for everyone who's listening, like you coach me, you like do you did everything you could to help me get as good as I could. You and Georgia like have me stay at your house when I come over. You treat me like I'm a fucking world champion, like in terms of the effort that you put in. Do you know what I'm saying? And it's like it's not unique to just me. Like you do that for your juniors, you do that for your up and comers, you do that for your top guys. Like you're just a coach who gives a lot. And I think like because we were just talking about the owner of Sigma Win, like I think that is a big determiner of success, is what is the coach actually like, not just like is he good, but what's he like as a person, because this is a hard sport that's
Yeah.
built on like um who you are as a person, and not just skill set, because there are plenty of super skilled fighters who either never make it or make it and then drop off. But then like when you're taking care of every aspect of a fighter's life and personality, and you're being a role model of somebody to look up to, basically, I think that's a big reason why your gym is exploding. And I think anyone who's listening to this who runs a gym, if I can just be that annoying person who gives advice, like don't neglect the fact that like you're also teaching people how to be people. You're not just teaching fighting. You're being a role model. I've learned so much from
Yeah.
you, bro, not just in fighting, maybe more in business and just how to treat people. And that's just super important.
So
Yeah,
so
yeah.
true. So true. Yeah, appreciate that, man. This was lovely. But Josh, sorry we kept you for so long. I know
Nah,
that
it was
you're
my
right.
absolute
You've got to go to
pleasure
the
and
gym.
joy. Who
But
cares?
yeah,
Actually, who
appreciate you
cares,
coming
bro?
on.
I'm on the Fight Business. I'm on the Fight Business
Yeah,
podcast. That's number one.
exactly. Show your students that, and
Love you, my
you'll be all
brother.
good. Love you, man. Thank you for that. And if anyone wants to find you online, where can they find you, and where can they follow your kind of journey?
So if you wanna watch my personal stuff where I put all my training and just a bunch of other silly billy nonsense, you can go to Josh Martin TBG, which stands for the big gym. And then if you want to follow my gym or you'd like to come train in Cyprus or anything like that, it's the big gym underscore LCA. Both of those are on Instagram and you can find me there. And yeah, if you're a member of McGowan Muay Thai, you have free training in Cyprus anytime you want. Come out, stay for as long as you want. You get the VIP treatment. And if you're not from McGowan Muay Thai, you actually pay double what everybody else pays. So you should you get penalized basically for being an absolute silly Billy. You should go to McGowan Muay Thai and get free training at the big gym.
It makes sense. It just completely makes
It makes
sense.
sense. Financially, it makes sense. So,
In it, in it. Well, anyway, Josh, thank you, man. That was really good, and
thank you, my
I'm
brother.
hopefully I'll be in Cyprus or you'll be in England, and we can do an actual sit down talk together. So yeah,
Let's
peace
go.
out, man.
Let's go.
Thank you for
Let's
that.
do it. I can't wait. See you later. Bye.